Hi, I'm Bob Hartig of Stormhorn.com, and I'm out here at the Mare Nature Preserve out in extreme southeastern Kent County. It's a beautiful autumn day, and I've come out here to talk a little bit about the Tritone Scale. And I'm going to also focus on doing something that I didn't do in my last video tutorial, my first one. I'm learning as I go along here, and that is to try to keep my eyes on the camera so I don't look like I'm spacing out in that direction or spacing out in that direction. I'll probably still do that, but let's get down to the meat of this thing here, and that is the Tritone Scale. I did an article on it some months back prior to this video in my Stormhorn blog. And so if you go to www.stormhorn.com and go to the jazz page and then go from there to the jazz theory and transcriptions and whatnot pull down, and then do a search, or just do a search on stormhorn.com, you'll find something on Tritone scales. You'll find an article on the Tritone scale. But enough about all that shameless self-plugging here for my blog. Let's talk a bit about the scale. And I'm going to start by playing a little bit, just so you can hear what the sound is. What the Tritone scale is essentially is think of a diminished scale with two of its teeth knocked out of it, and you have the Tritone scale. In other words, if you think of, for instance, an A half-whole diminished scale, starting with A, B flat, C, C sharp, E flat, E, F sharp, G, A. If you were to remove from that what would it be, the C, and if you were to remove the F sharp, you would have an A tritone scale. You would also have an E flat tritone scale, and guess why that is? Why, you smart person, you guessed it. It's because those two notes are a tritone apart, and when you start on those two notes, an A and an E flat, with that particular scale and that arrangement of notes, then what you wind up is the same relationship of notes to each other. So the tritone scale then can be used in two different keys, functions in two different keys. Actually, if you think of it as I described before as a diminished scale with a couple of notes missing, it really functions in four different keys. And I'm not going to get into all of that right now. What I will say is this, that the tritone scale, you derive that by taking two triads, an A triad in this case, an A major triad, and an E flat major triad, those two triads, and then taking the notes and scrunching them together so that what you have are all the triad tones in sequence, in order. And what you wind up with is an A and a B flat, and a C sharp, and an E flat, and an E, and a G, and then back to A. Okay, 6 notes. So it's a six-tone scale, a hexatonic scale, and you would use that primarily in any situation that you would use an A half-whole diminished scale. So if you're going to use say an A half-whole diminished scale, you could instead use the A tritone scale. Okay, so you have, as I said, two major triads, a tritone apart. You can also extend those triads and make out of them two dominant seventh chords that are a tritone apart. In other words, you'd have an A dominant seventh chord, and you would also have an E flat dominant seventh chord. Thus. Okay, so simple enough, and you can find out more about the scale, as I said, by going to www.stormhorn.com and doing a search on Tritone Scale. What I'm going to do right now is simply improvise a bit on the scale and let you get a sense of how the thing sounds in actual application. And I don't have a soundtrack with me, so you can't hear an actual concert C7 flat 9 chord sounding in the background, or the scale I'm playing in my key would be an A7 flat 9. But just you know, think of it as being there. This scale works with dominant 7 flat 9 chords, and you can also use it with dominant 7 altered chords, but best with the dominant 7 flat 9. And without saying more, here goes. Okay, so I interspersed an actual diminished scale in there just to color it up a little bit more. But basically you've got the sound of the A tritone scale, you've also got the sound of the E flat tritone scale. Remember, I said that these work with chords that are a tritone apart. So you could use that scale with either the A7 flat 9 or the E flat 7 flat 9 chord. And that's about it on the tritone scale. The sun is setting here over beautiful Mirror Sanctuary. And once again, I'm Bob Hartig of Stormhorn.com. Thank you.